Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Axel jam si Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do de. Luta mo nulo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello?
Bisul mu fine.
What?
Bisul mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave Axina Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. At Wave. Bisul mu fine? Wave. Your money is yours.
You're watching and listening to Coffee Time with Peter Gomez on Friday, the 27th of June 2025. We're live on radio on 92.1. Later, you'll also be able to watch this program on YouTube, courtesy of Jar Oil and Wave. And the time in the Gambia is exactly 8:30 in the morning. Let's welcome our guest this morning. And he is Mr. Amadou Ka, leader of the Tabax Rewmi movement. Ahmad, welcome to West Coast Radio.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gomez. We're delighted and very happy to be here with the Coffee Time. I think my first time.
Absolutely.
Though not my first with West Coast Radio. I've been here a couple of times with Caritas Gambia on talks on peaceful coexistence. So I'm delighted, being here, having this interface with the Gambian people, but also with a veteran, somebody that I would really want to say thank you for serving.
Well, that's very kind of you. We don't have much time. Tell us about yourself.
I am, let me just say I hail from the North Bank region, a village called Medina Serimas. I was born and raised in Medina Serimas. I did my lower schooling there as well, and then moved to the cities here, where I did my higher education. I've been working for education as a trainer, currently with the Management Development Institute, MDI. I've been in politics as well. I've been in politics since 2015, in active politics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How did that come about?
It was in 2015. Then actually I, was very concerned about the Gambia, that I have always had this belief that there are certain democratic principles that should define governance in all over the world. I have that belief. Mm-hmm. And in 2015, I was, of course, very young though, but I believe it was time the Gambians tried to sort a change.
Let me just say, you're still very young.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. So to bring about a system where we will be seeing presidents, head of states would be serving terms, 2 terms, and leaving, I believe that has a lot to do with development. So it was then that I started the initiative, to get into politics. And somewhere during 2016, I was one of those that formed the GDC as a political party. Yeah,
you're a founder member of.
I'm a founding member of
Mama
the
GDC.
Yes, I'm a founding member there. So we started that work until 2016. Then we registered the political party. I've also served in different portfolios in the party as well. Started as auditor, then finance secretary, then PRO, and then finally to second deputy leader until I resigned in December of 2022.
And why did you resign?
Yes, I resigned because at the time I felt like the promise that I've made to Gambian people, actually what I believe in, actually was not what was driving the party no more.
And what was that promise?
Yeah, that there is transparency, absolute transparency in the running of state party affairs. But again, that like I said earlier on, I believe that political parties and then governments should actually prepare people to transit to different levels, and that also will not only stick to lower portfolios, but even at the top of leadership. This is the form of democracy that I believe should run throughout all.
Yeah, but you said government. The GDC has never been in government.
No, that's what I said. I said government and political parties.
Okay.
That I think there is. We need to, as much as possible, try to exercise some of the the calls that we're urging the government to take up. We need to start from political parties trying to push up some of these agendas. Training people is very important so that by the time they get to the top job, of course, it will be easy there when they have already tried, do some trials from within their own political parties or so.
Why is that important? Is it because when Adam Barrow came to power, he said that he had never served in public office, so he knew nothing about, public office, public service?
President Barrow would say that, but like I said...
Well, he actually did say that.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So,
and that's why I'm asking, are you saying political parties that are in opposition should use their platforms as, training ground, if you like, preparing themselves for eventual government?
Absolutely. Like we said, we call them governments in waiting.
Yeah.
So, and I believe that being the case, political parties should try as much as possible to adapt to certain standards even before they get to government. That will make it very easy. I can say, actually, a lot of things were difficult for the president to adopt when he comes to power because that was actually not, how he was in his political party before being the leader. So I believe there need to be...
So you're saying the UDP, which is the party he came from, up to the time he left it, had not prepared itself, for effective governance.
What I'm saying is Barrow was not actually prepared, right, to lead the state.
So the UDP did not prepare him.
Yeah,
well, they never knew that he would one day, lead the party, for starters, let alone become leader of this country.
No, I believe political parties are supposed to be run on ideologies, on visions. Not even only those that are serving at the executive level or so, but even people that are on the ground actually should understand what party visions are and are supposed to be trained. Political parties are supposed to be institutions that mold people. Actually should not only mold those that are going to take up responsibility at government. At the end of the day, the implementers of government projects and programs are the people that are on the ground. So political parties, I think, should have that influence, that global reach to the people of the country that they want to lead, not only those. So, of course, political parties are supposed to be a positive influencer. They should mold people, all members and sympathizers, right? And then, therefore, that will bring about an easy transit, like when they've come to government, what they would have been promising Gambian people to do, actually people would have understood clearly before they even get there, that when this government comes in place, actually their promises are A, B, C, and D, and this would be our responsibility, our contribution in making sure that such initiatives are attained. So I'm not only talking about even those that could be at the top, but everybody that is a member of a political party should be influenced positively and progressively, being given the right mindset, right, by that political parties. Political parties are supposed to be based on ideologies, on visions, right, and of course on preparing people. They are the foundation, the building blocks of a society, or a democratic society. Yeah. So I believe President Barrow was not actually well prepared. Yeah. And of course, if that was the case, we would not be living in the kind of a situation that we have today. Of course, yeah.
Do you think that those people around him, people he's trusted, to help him, effectively run this country, have disappointed him?
No, I don't think they have disappointed him. You see, there is a different understanding that I have about...
Are you suggesting that he just lacks the necessary vision? He is not providing the vision.
That's what I'm saying. You see, what I'm saying is governments are supposed to be run by leaders. You see, all those others that are surrounding the president are supposed to be helped to him, right? Not actually the directors or not actually the initiator of global initiatives of the government. The president needs to have a clear vision of what he wants. The president needs to have a clear vision of what he intends to achieve from each ministry, each industry, each even parastatals of government or arms of government. So he is supposed to be the driver. He is supposed to be a huge contributor as detailed as to the processes of work. So I don't think it is the people that are surrounding the president that are failing the president. It is the president's deficiency in having the clear vision and again being able to build the correct roadmap that is necessary or that will sail the Gambia through. The president actually is supposed to know, for example, what he wants from the Minister of Agriculture, what he wants from trade. each ministry. This should be clear to the president. And therefore, the minister or the heads of departments within the ministry actually are supposed to be in line with the president's vision. So countries are built by leaders, not supporters or not helps of the leaders. The helps only make so the engine continue running. But the leader will have to build that link between himself and all ministries, and even further than that, every worker of government, further than that, all the private sector. All of the president is supposed to direct the efforts, activities, right, of all these sectors towards a unified objective. So I believe our biggest problem is not about those that are surrounding the president. A lot of people will say this sometimes, but I believe it's an error. The president directs the country. The president is supposed to have clear vision. The president should know what actually he's looking for from each sector of the economy. So therefore, that being the case, then the president initiates, right, what directives are supposed to be taken, what actions are supposed to be put in place, and then see to it that there are oversight functions supporting him to see to it that even the minister falls in line with his own promise and government agenda. So I believe what would have built this country is a president that actually knows what he wants and how to get there.
So you're saying those who blame the president for every socio-economic woe this country is grappling with are right to blame him?
They are 100% right. The president is responsible. It was the president who went around the Gambia asking people for their votes and for their trust. And that was what the people of the Gambia did with more than 50%. At that time, when the president was canvassing for vote, he would not say that actually I'm not going to be able to do anything without any other person's help. He would say that if you vote me into office, I promise prosperity in agriculture, I promise in this sector and that sector and that sector. That was his promise. So at the end of the day, there is 100% responsibility on the head of the president to see to it that all promises that he made to the Gambian people are fulfilled.
Jar Oil, the company, have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Excellent jams, Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do dede. Luta mënuloo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello?
Bësal mu fine.
What?
Bësal mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. Ak Wave. Bësal mu fine. Wave. Your money is yours.
Yeah.
We're talking to Amaduka. He's the head of the Rewmi movement. You're not calling it a party. Why?
Yes, I'm trying to run away from one problem, and then, like, you see, the formation of political parties now are almost nothing more than numbers to the people of the Gambia. You see, let me just give a simple synopsis. Like, since 2015, there was only one political party that was formed that had achieved that rise. That was the JDC in 2016. Since then, many other political parties have been formed, right? Were they able to make that, you know, that propels that that strong grip in Gambian politics? No. Why? Because political parties should, of course, come to solve problems. They should come to aid problems. It is important to wait until when the problem is very, very visible to the Gambian people. I see that the major problem of our country today, example one is leadership. Another thing is an agenda. There are problems, and Gambian people require solutions. We all know that movements are usually formed either to see to bring about solutions to problems, or to come and fight things that are actually not in the interest of the people of the Gambia. So that being the case, we intend to stick as a movement for now until when time is right. The benefits are, as a movement, like I said, we can reach out to the people of the Gambia and we will tell them what problems are. We will not be just associated with political parties or the ways of political parties that today clouds our political environment, insults here and there, one another, fighting one another, derogatory remarks from one another. So people now lot of Gambian people today, especially the silent or undecided voters, sees political parties as nothing more than enemies in different sides, right? Especially when it comes to the government and the opposition as well. What we see on a daily basis now, they don't debate on ideas, they don't debate on programs. It's always about insults, derogatory remarks, right? Threatening one another, and so on and so on and so on, which actually is not expected of them as political parties. So we are running a movement because there is a category of Gambian people that we are very interested in, and these are the youth of the Gambian people. And we believe to be able to get their attention, we need to get to them, let them understand and see that there are problems. But we as people would have to organize ourselves and come to bring about solutions in those problems. So that being the case, we need to differentiate ourselves from the existing establishment that actually have not yielded much dividends over decades. And this is actually why we stick to a movement for now. When the time is right, by that time we would have reached to many Gambian people, many youngsters. We would have helped them to understand, to see where things went wrong, why political parties are not selling programs and agendas, why they continue to cloud our environment with insults and derogatory remarks, because what it does is people will not have time, people will not see substance. So in that case, either side that you go would be determined by other factors, not the interests of the Gambian people. It would be decided by things like tribalism, friendship, and families, things like that. So we believe running a movement for now is ideal. It will give us the leverage to get to any sector, any type of people in the country, even members of political parties. We will be able to get to them, right? And to be able to sell our agendas to them, and then, to make them see what the prevailing problems are, and that solutions requires an assembly of a youthful Gambian with a different mindset, different programs, who debates on agendas, who debates on programs, and actually who believe that there is nobody or nothing ever that will come to this country to aid it, to get it out of the current situation it is, other than an assembly of youths of the Gambia.
Okay, and how long will it remain, a movement before maybe transforming into a party?
Our objective, we would have done that before the June of 2026.
Okay, fantastic.
Yes,
so
yes.
definitely before the December elections 2026.
Exactly, we would have, yes.
And what's the inspiration behind the name Tabax Rewmi?
Yes, again, like with our differentiation initiative, there are many people today in the Gambia that are members of political parties. Example, somebody is from the AAA party. Most of whom, probably, if you were to ask them what AAA stands for, they wouldn't tell you. We believe, like I said, political parties are supposed to be run based on ideologies and philosophies and vision. Now, whenever you speak to a Gambian, even when we reach out to communities and we say we are Tabax Rewmi, instantly there, people will start to interpret and tell you their own version of Tabax Rewmi. But we always come to the same conclusion, and that is doing whatever it takes, whatever that is necessary to see to it that the Gambia is built, the Gambian people are taken out of poverty, that the Gambian people are energized to see to it that it is only hard work that will build the country. So that is one kind of a differentiation. We said to get closer to our people, to make them understand more and more what our philosophy and agenda is, we need to speak their language, right? Because any Gambian that you talk to and you say Tabax Rewmi, he actually knows what you intend or what you're trying to achieve. They themselves from that point would create in their mind what needs to be done to be able to do this at the end of the day. So it's part of our differentiative initiative. We believe that, like we said, a political movement, a political party, whatever it is, should have that positive influence, right, across their membership, across people around the country. It should be an institution that educates, right, that liberates the Gambian people, especially the mind of the Gambian people. There are so many unfounded fabrications in the political environment. All these things need to be removed from the environment in order to have a civilized, a well-built people, create a strong mindset for a future that's progressive. So this is why we said we need to come up with a name that resonates with the Gambian people, that of course everybody will understand, even if you do not have the opportunity to get to them and tell them actually the version of the real Tabax Rewmi, they'll be able to at least get somewhere which is going to be very similar to what you want.
As you sat in the green room waiting to be invited, to the studio to begin your conversation with me, you must have heard two politicians on the program, you know, debating the president's State of the Nation address, Bakary Baji and Mai Fati. What's your view on the speech in general before I start asking about, you know, specifics?
Yeah. Look. I don't see the SONA to be different from that of last year and the previous year. It has always been the same thing, same way. When it is time, political, like, let's say, writers, whatever, would just gather, prepare something and give to the president to come and read. Try to cloud here and there with figures, numbers, whatsoever.
When he reads his speech, does he leave you feeling, he has a grasp of what he is, talking about? Or do you feel he just reads through a script provided for him?
Yeah, that's what I believe in. The president reads through a script, that's one. Secondly, at the end of the day, if the president is addressing the state, right, especially with the SONA, I think the objective is trying to reach out to the Gambians, telling them what his programs are.
He does that, doesn't he?
Of course, that's what I'm saying. I said that should be the sole objective. But the reality at the end of the day, how many people, that's the Gambian people, connects with what he was saying? Example, when you will talk to us that the value of currencies appreciates, that like inflation, what he talked about, inflation and all that. Is this the reality that Gambian people are living within their own reach, their pockets, right? So that's not the case. When you're talking about, yes, there's economic growth here and there, and people are getting poorer. So what I would have expected from the president is to come to and reach out, like that state address, that SONA should have been talking about facts. That example, last year, Gambians on average were spending $5,000 on electricity, right? Now, this year or next year, you will have more stable electricity, of which you'll be spending $3,000. That would make sense to me. The price of food items, of course, would decrease by next year 5% or 10%, and that decrease should be felt by Gambian people, should be felt. I should go to the market and realize that last year I was spending $1,000 to buy rice. This year I'm spending $800. Other things that I was expecting probably would be, of course, the government have a plan that we have signed a contract or we received funding for about this kind of money or this sum of money, of which will be put into housing programs, building 1,000 houses, right, to target middle income earners or new families, new youths that are starting their families, where they will be paying rent for $3,000. So these are the things that would have that positive impact in the life of the Gambian people. So I understand what's going on there, because I understand, like, the figures he will give, these are all economic figures, and they're real. Yeah, of course, they're not fabricated, they're real. But actually what I'm saying is, gone are those days that every year you come and do the same thing. Now we're trying to ask the president and his government to start taking up initiative that Gambian people are going to feel that will impact on our lives and our living standards. That is actually what I would expect from the president, right? All these days, like, the president is saying that by very soon, end of next year or so, that 95% of Gambians would have been
2027.
2020, yeah, 95% of Gambians. Can you imagine?
Would have electricity.
Would have electricity. Now, the important issue here should have been how many new factories, right?
No, 90% is towards the end of this year.
Yeah, good.
100% maybe
100% by end of next year, sort of something like
2027.
2027, yeah.
90% definitely by the end of this year.
Good. So
he has 6 months to achieve 90%.
Thank you. And now look at it, the past 2 days. It is a huge problem even here in the Greater Banjul again. Especially throughout the night, you don't have power, you don't have electricity. So what's going on? If you are trying to reach out to 95% electricity within the Gambia, there are certain areas of the country that requires quality, right? Because electricity is tied to economic development. And again, we should have been counting numerous factories that are being instituted in the Gambia because of what a powerful, a stable supply and quality electricity. President should have been counting the number of jobs. Some of the things that you don't hear from the SONA is the president telling us how many jobs were created in the last year, how many jobs will be created next year. These are the things that have
jobs
impact.
are being created only in Saudi Arabia and Spain.
Thank you. What I call modern day slavery.
Slavery?
Yeah, that's it. We have to remember, why did the people that were here before, our grandfathers and ancestors, they fought so hard. How many African people died overseas, being dragged from their source to somewhere else to work?
Yeah, but they're not dying that way now, are they?
look at it this way. This is a government that promised us not long ago that they will be creating 10,000 jobs. All of a sudden, what they can
10,000 or 150,000 over 3 years, over 5 years.
Yeah,
sorry,
they have talked about that.
Which is 30,000 jobs per year.
Thank you. So, but, I've listened to somewhere also, some of them were saying about 10,000 jobs here and there. Now, yes, they had the drive for 150,000 jobs as well. But just look at it this way. That's a government that promised the creation of about 150,000 jobs. Now it's relying on, look at it. They're taking the cream of this country, youths. The government should have had different vision for those youngsters, giving them the right education, right skills, right mindset.
Yeah, but the TVETs are all over the place, and it's up to the youths now to take advantage of these training centers.
No, it's not up to the youths. Now take it this way. We're talking about these TVET centers, right? First thing and foremost, I would have expected the government to come up with a revised curriculum. They should have a curriculum. There should be a link between the president's vision, the government directives, the initiatives, right, and what actually people are being tasked to do. And of course, if you are setting up TVETs, first thing foremost, the government should have a curriculum that aligns with the government objectives and agenda. That will run through TVETs. After that, not only TVETs, how many youngsters have access to these TVET services? They're not providing us with figures or so and so. But actually, I know I am from Rewmi. Do you understand?
Yeah.
I have not seen or had a strong TVET program there.
But right? they have TVETs specializing in fisheries, I believe in agriculture and, other trades.
And now that's what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about and what I'm saying is, what is the impact? You see, there is...
Well, they've just started.
No, let me give you an example, Mr. Gomez.
Yes.
A similar example. Mm-hmm. The same government is talking about new hospitals. Is that not so? The same government is almost talking about big dreams in health and so on, so on, so on. Now, what is there that is more challenge than the lack of medication in hospitals? So I think we have reached a time that services, quality should be important in service delivery, right? One thing that the government does very well is only building white elephants. You set up institutions, build institutions. At the end of the day, the impact for which...
Give an example of a white elephant. Something that was, constructed to serve a purpose.
I've just given an example. Like, we have hospitals all over the country, right?
You mean the ones they inherited from Yahya Jammeh?
There's nothing like inheritance in here. This is a government, right, that is telling you that they have an initiative, a drive for health, that they should give Gambians strong health service, right? So look at it as it is today. What is the quality of service in our hospitals? Everybody's complaining, everybody's crying. Women, they're the victims, right? So what I'm saying is, it is time that we move from only structures to quality service delivery. You can look at it this way. We're talking about, look at the privatization of Gamtel initiatives, right? You go to Gampost.
What about the privatization of Gamtel?
The privatization of what? Gamtel?
Yes, what is the problem there?
There's a huge problem. Like, if we were in charge, government, the leadership of Gamtel would look into ways, right, to create quality service and generate revenue, right? That would be more interesting and beneficial to the Gambian people. Last time I saw, they're talking about probably about 600 Gambians, right, might be affected by that by that privatization.
Yes.
Right. Have they been prepared? Those are Gambian citizens. They should have been armed with the requisite skills needed for such privatization, so that a new company or any new board that's taken over will understand clearly that the team that is already there is supposed to run and provide the kind of service that they would want to do when they come as a private business. Yeah,
but we all complain that parastatals are overstaffed, they are inefficient, people are just sitting there, drawing salaries. And with the case of Gamcel now, if the government does not give them money to pay salaries, all right, they can't pay salaries. And when the government is giving them, the fact is, the prospect of rising, is very grim. So why don't you maybe, well, the beginning may be tough, but as the company, makes profit, it will need more and more staff. And eventually, who knows, maybe all 600 will go back.
What I'm saying is, if government and the leadership were effective in their service, right, their duties to the Gambian people, it would not have come to that level.
I agree entirely. And you can give the example of the port.
That's what I'm saying.
You can give the example of the port.
That's what I'm saying.
That, in a short space of time, all the problems of the port have just disappeared.
Exactly.
And the people who are running it have come with nothing.
Exactly. So this is what I'm saying.
When I say nothing, not financial, not machinery.
Nothing different.
Nothing, absolutely
with the
nothing.
same people, same resources, now they're able to effectively deliver port services. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, who is responsible? The oversight functions. Who is the oversight function? It's the government. So at the end of the day, the government is responsible for the failure that we are seeing through all over government parastatals, right? They don't compete. They don't innovate. Take another example. You go to Gampost today, right? Wave. I think I heard is one of the sponsors of this program.
You can say anything about Wave on this program. They're a great sponsor of the program, yes.
They've just been here for probably maybe a few years, right? Now, what is stopping Gampost?
What about Wave and Gampost?
No, what I'm saying is, look at the performance.
No, why are you associating Wave with Gampost?
I'm just trying to tell you how Gampost is lacking behind.
Oh, okay.
Do you see?
They should have been doing what Wave is doing.
They should have been doing what Wave is doing today.
Okay.
Right? Look, for how many years now Gampost was running money service. So therefore, the only difference is having people that know actually what they were supposed to be doing, employ the necessary, let's say, applications and whatsoever to be able to run a monetary service that makes sense. To do some deliveries that of course people would want to pay for. So the same problem exists all over. You go to Gamtel again. Now they're talking about service here, money there and there. What is stopping Gamtel from providing internet to all households in the Gambia?
Well, I'm not sure about all households, but I have broadband, fiber at home, it's very good. And I ask myself, why have they not succeeded in selling fiber?
Thank you. So why? And the government actually now what will happen is, this tells you clearly that the government themselves don't know what to do with those institutions. Because, like, if I were in charge, I would not even have privatized them as in the conditions that they are. I will build it to grow so that I will ask for value. That's one. Secondly, so that I will protect the interest and integrity, right, of the Gambian that works there, giving them the right education, right technical skills, so that those people, whoever would take it over, of course, will know that there's huge benefits in taking over the staff. But the problem and the major reason why they don't want to take over the staff is because there's a deficit, right, of technical know-how, of skills, right, and to run or to provide the kind of service that they intend to do with such a transformation. So all of this really comes into place or in effect because the government fails and have no clue about what to do with parastatals that works under them.
If the government has failed, I mean, this is how Barrow has run this country since 2017. So why did the people put him back there in 2021? And all projections so far seem to indicate that he's in for another win in 2026. Yeah, what's the problem with the Gambian voter? Why are they not able to see the inefficiency in Barrow that you and his other, opponents and critics see? They
have. People of the Gambia really have seen that.
Have they?
Yes, they have. But when it is time for elections, people always... You see, one thing I usually say is, let us not assume people don't think through before they vote. Gambian people are very wise. And they always think through before they vote. The problem is, what are the prevailing options at the time of voting? That is the major problem. The options are almost not different, right? If you take the previous elections of 2021, the strongest camp for that election, you have leaders from each of those camps throwing out terrible rhetorics, tribal rhetorics, right? It was coming from both camps. Tribal rhetorics. So instead of engaging the Gambian people in substance, this is the agenda or program that I have that I want to do with your resources. It is the responsibility to provide the options, right? But of course, whatever the case, people must vote. And when it comes to the time, even though as terrible as the options are, people will still weigh them because those are the prevailing options. So this is actually what happens in the Gambia almost every time when we get to elections. So in 2021, there were options. Both of the options were not the right ones. But of course, they were the prevailing options. People have to choose one. So everybody understand, and everybody says it. Even if you go to look into the electoral list, the voter populations, right, and then the counts that have been made by political parties, you can instantly point out the issue of tribalism even in the voting decisions. Why? Because each camp, instead of selling agenda, were totally on talking about tribal rhetorics. So people voted, a lot of Gambian voted based on that factor. So actually the Gambian people are very wise. And of course they vote, they take choices, right? So either way, at any point in time, the prevailing condition will determine which way they go. And I believe that is what happened. This time around, that is why, as a movement, we're trying to reach out to the Gambian people and tell them there is a third option, there is another one different, where concepts, ideas, programs, and agenda are sold, that we call them to come, to join us in this strive, to work honestly for the interests of the Gambian people. All other factors, especially these non-progressive factors, left out. This is what we need to do and had to be done. But of course, I'm telling you, Gambian people, they vote. Right? After clear minds, they think through before they vote. Right? But of course, the challenge and the problem is the prevailing options anytime during elections are not the good ones. And of course, either way, whatsoever, they would have to pick one. Right? So this is the fact.
I think we're seeing almost what we saw in the run-up to 2021, the proliferation of new parties and new people, you know, stringing forth and announcing their candidacy for the presidential election. What assurance can you give the Gambian people that you haven't started the Rewmi movement as a bargaining chip and will ultimately join the Barrow camp after securing, you know, maybe a position in a future government?
I've come to remove President Barrow. And that is my conviction, and I'm very strong in that objective. And I will do whatever it takes democratically to make sure I remove President Barrow. So my objective is very clear to me. And of course, again, my beliefs...
You are not telling me that there is no chance, zero chance of you going into an alliance
There is
with
zero. There is zero. I'm telling you here, there is zero. Zero chance. Do you understand? Why? Because the Barrow administration have failed, right, to put in place, of course, what would have gotten me on their side. And this is a very strong battle against corruption. A very strong agenda and program that they try to make so is sold to all of Gambians, unite all of Gambians to stick through whatever the case is, to very, very strong to fight for a program and agenda for the country. So therefore, what I look for in politics, right, is actually not what they're providing to the Gambian people. So, and of course, as it stands, there's zero chance. And like I said, I'm very strong with my objective. And that is to provide an option to the Gambian people. That we're here, and we're here to be different, right? And we would stick to. You see, one thing that I always say, we come into politics to serve. President Jawara had been here. There is something that I understand very clearly. President Jawara had an opportunity to be remembered in this country for centuries, right? Today, that's not the case. Many people in this country today, probably you ask them about President Jawara, they won't be able to tell you much. Former President Jammeh, the same thing, have had that opportunity to be remembered in this country. President Barrow have had that opportunity to be remembered in this country forever when he took up in 2016. And that is if he had been there, stand very strong on his promise, whatsoever the case is. That is one thing I know.
The roads will always remind us of President Barrow.
The roads would be dilapidated before long, or somebody else will come and, you know, do something better. So therefore, at the end of the day, one thing that I understand very clearly, these are options. I could be a president, try to gather wealth or fame whatsoever.
Is that what he's doing, gathering wealth?
I know he's very rich now. Yeah.
Before he wasn't?
He was not as rich as he is today. Everybody knows that.
Well.
Everybody knows that. Yeah. Because before 2016, I've never seen him dish it out probably money as he does today. So
probably because
maybe job is better today than it was before. Yes.
All right. So what are your chances of winning finally? Because we've got to be.
My chances are very high, and in fact, probably using scientific data, we have seen of recent research published by CEPRAS that 37% of Gambians are undecided, right? And by that report, I think about 27% might have decided for the president or would vote for the president, and 17% for the UDP. So that tells you majority of Gambians are not satisfied, right, with what is actually prevailing on the ground. And therefore, if anybody comes...
Because from those projections, 27 and what?
Because
27 and 17, that's 44.
Good. So majority of Gambians, of course, would go for an alternative that, of course, is talking sense. And when they see the political will, that you're honest to your promise and you would want to do whatever it takes to get them to the promised land, of course, they would come. So therefore, chances are very high that we are going to remove the government and also in a brand new idea and philosophy for the Gambia.
All right, Amadou, thank you very much for coming. That's Amadou Ka, leader of the Tabax Rewmi movement, bringing our Politics Week to an end. Thank you very much for following the series. This is where we have to drop the curtains on Coffee Time with Peter Gomez. Until next Monday. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a very good weekend.
Jar Oil, the company, have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Excellent jams, Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do de. Luta mo nulo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello? Ano lay waxaat?
Bisul mu fine.
What?
Bisul mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. At Wave, Bisul mu fine? Wave, your money is yours.